Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series with me, your host, Gyle. As you've been no doubt aware if you watched the last video or kept up with community news, the Galactic War project is a go. It has been fully funded, and if you've donated to the project, I advise you to check your email if you haven't done so already. The reason is because the FAF servers should have sent you out a survey which you need to fill out, and that will give Zep all of the details he needs on the relevant perk for your donation. So you want to fill that out, crack on with it as soon as you can, so that Zep can get on with what he needs to get on with. If you can't find it, check your spam folder. I know a few people have been having some problems with that. So, on to today's game. I pulled this one off the vault earlier. It is going to be a 1v1 between Anaryl and UK Cryo on Open Palms. Let's see how they get on. So Open Palms, a map that lives in infamy. It's been played so many times. I think it was actually the basic map that always pops up when you start a game, always used to on GPG. I'm not sure if it still does. But yeah, so it doesn't need any extra introduction from me. Let's take a look at the positioning and the teams. We've got Anaryl up here in the red corner. He's going UEF, land 2 P-Gens to start. Down here at the bottom right, we've got Cryo. He's going FIM in the blue corner, and he's going land 3 P-Gens to start. Opening up with some engineer play to start with. He's going to try and get his eco running first of all, whereas Anaryl is opening straight for some lab play. He's got a combat scout that's, or sorry, a land scout that's making its way to the what looks like the edge of the plateau, just so you can see if anything's coming across. And that mech marine is going to nestle himself for the moment, it looks like, down here to the left of Cryo's starting position, just so he can pick up any engineers that might befall his tracks for their poor unfortunate sins. Still producing engineers quite heavily. It looks like he's got out 4 or 5. But now he has switched to Selen's Cryo, and he's going to use those to get some idea of what's going on the battlefield. You can see that move command heading up here to the right. He's going to see what's coming up there. He's got another one coming out over to the left, and another one that's going to guard the plateau. So he wants vision, first of all, is the order of the day. Second factory he's going to get online is going to be an air factory, so he's going for some very early airplay. Anaryl, by contrast, he's going straight for the hydrocarbon. He's linking everything to it. And he's going to go land, air, land, land in sequence. He's marching his ACU, however, out of his base towards the left section of the mass point, and that combat scout, if it keeps its current heading, is going to run directly into him and probably alert Anaryl to his presence. So I highly advise you turn around, my friend. I highly advise it. Ah! And just in case he hadn't seen it, he fires a single shot off towards the mass point. Very cheeky. Well, he knows you're there now. So, meanwhile, Cryo is still working on the hydrocarbon ore. It's only just finished, and still operating off just 2 factories at the back of his base. And Anaryl is a little bit ahead. He's about to get the air factory up and running. He has his second land factory up and running. So, in terms of factory spam, Anaryl is slightly ahead. Well, actually, no, having said that, no, it's pretty much exactly the same. That factory got insta-built thanks to the amount of engineers that Cryo got out at the beginning of the game, so he's having no problems with build capacity there. Land scout down here at the bottom left for Anaryl, that's going to be helpful in working out as and when Cryo makes a move to these bottom sections of mass points. Very lucky engineer indeed, but I think it's only temporary luck because they're both going to be heading to the same kind of place, this mech marine and this engineer, or at least he's holding there for a minute, but he will see that engineer as he walks past, so that's probably going to be the end of him. Meanwhile, this little combat scout manages to take out an engineer and is now going to wail away on the mass extractor that engineer never managed to finish, but I don't think he's going to get it done because a mech marine's going to turn up and shoot him in the face, which is always bad for your health. So we've got quite a few air units out on the board for both guys already, so the battle escalating nice and quickly. And Anaryl has identified that bomber, is making a beeline straight for it. He's turned around since he's seen his interceptors. He's going to get involved in a very ill-advised fight because there are 3/4 of them now, so that's well protected. That engineer that was down here, or on its way down here, did indeed get taken out, so that's nice work from Anaryl. And however, it's probably not going to last too long because they've got a bomber on them, and that will tidy up for the moment the backside of Cryo's base. He wants to get some engineers down here though as quickly as possible. Of course, those 3 mass points very crucial. But of course, Cryo's done exactly the same thing with a Selen. Take a look at anything coming that way. For the moment, Anaryl hasn't said anything down there, but no doubt he will. If he's got a spare mech marine or two, it wouldn't hurt to send a little bit of an escort. But we've got some a combination of strikers and Lobos. No, it's all strikers. No, sorry, there is a Lobo in there, or a couple of Lobos. So a combination of strikers and Lobos, just kind of harassing the front edge of Cryo's base. Cryo managed to get a PD up. A radar did go down. Managed to get a PD up, but Cryo had moved his commander over here. Anaryl obviously saw that and so knew it was no longer in his base and he was free reign. But a whole bunch of engineers caught napping on a little bit of a reclaim mission, and that turned out to be a suicide mission. So it's very unfortunate. It looked like 4 engineers went down there for Cryo, which is not ideal, but Anaryl could do with moving these units back because they're about to get royally sandwiched between 2 marauding forces from Cryo, and indeed that's going to be too late. They're all going to get popped. But I think that's worth it for 4 engineers. It's always nasty to take out the build capacity of your opponent, as I've been learning from my training sessions from Swackle, Napalm, and Brainfart, or currently known as Fafnir. Big thank you to all you guys for all of your help in helping me not to suck at this game. So Bomber getting some success over on a couple of units, but promptly getting blown out of the sky by some... oh, I suppose it's probably the insects. Looked like there was some ground fire coming off there. But now we're getting a pretty moderate to serious engagement for this time in the game between the 2 T1 land forces of these guys. And Anaryl is going to lose that and withdraw. Going to get a couple of Lobo shells off in volley and take out a few Thams just for good measure. Cryo's going to pursue it with a smaller force and the, well, bisect his forces and send the other half, it looks like, around the side. But the relief of the map is definitely siding with Anaryl, playing all kinds of nasty little games on Cryo. But the inside force on the plateau managed to deal with that. And that was actually an upgrading mass pump. In fact, there's 2 of them. For Anaryl, interesting, he's decided that might have been a mistake. I don't know if he was meaning to do that. He's actually got a whole bunch down here. He's been on a crazy upgrade mission. Look at all these mass pumps. I think he probably accidentally double-clicked and started upgrading a whole bunch more than he meant to. Unless this is some kind of strat that I'm not aware of. Please comment in the section below if I've missed something there. But that looks like a mistake to me. So he's gone round and manually paused all of the construction on those mass points, but actually sure if that does anything negatively to the amount of mass they put out. Now it doesn't, so that's fine. It's not going to cause him any major troubles. It would have done if he hadn't seen it, but then of course if you were upgrading that many mass extractors at the same time and you hadn't seen it, you would you'd know about it because you wouldn't be building anything. Bomber coming in for Anaryl, and that takes out the radar station for Cryo, and that's very annoying indeed. What was a comprehensive radar coverage on this side of the map is now no longer, so there's a huge gap in what Cryo can see. And that's always a wise target of opportunity if you see a radar, especially the T1s. It literally, you could sneeze on them and those things pop, so it's going to take very little to go afterwards, and it denies all of the intel from your opponent, so definitely one to go for. There's a very far forward one here while I'm on that subject for Cryo, so that's definitely a nice target of opportunity for Anaryl. A lot of spam now accruing for Anaryl in the middle of the map, just north of the plateau. Not making any move with it for the moment. It looks like he's just amassing forces. He has made the transition to T2, however, mainly starting with engineers, but we have a Mongoose rolling off the platform now and another one being built, so that transition is there. Let's take a look down here to see if we can see if there's any T2 up and running for Cryo. I can't see that there is for the moment. He may be upgrading it. Take a look at the build queues on these suckers. Not for the moment, at least. Looks like it's sticking with the standard. Now, it's quite a serious force from Cryo, who's made a lovely little push on the left-hand side. And Anaryl will lose almost all of the mass points, but this one survives with 24 hit points. That is a good day to be a mass point on that specific point compared to all of his friends. That factory is taking heavy fire now. Anaryl's also going to lose these 2 inner mass points and probably this factory, although it looks like this little run-by was making some further headway. Indeed, it's not going to. It is going to turn around and finish that factory off, which is, in my mind, a wise maneuver to make. So the map looking reasonably steady down the middle. However, this little push on the left-hand side has given Cryo an advantage for the moment, but he's still wholly operating off T1 as far as I can see. Not seeing any T2 on the field as yet, and so that might be a telling issue for him in a sec when he starts running up against Pillars and Mongoose coming out from Anaryl. You see those Mongoose just wailing away now, using their extensive range to fire at those Thams as they're retreating away. Or rather, not retreating, as they're progressing and going straight forward. Going to pick up this engineer probably in these 2 mass points, and this could be the crucial difference in this game if Anaryl is still unable to secure significant portions of his own mass, or at least the mass that's on his side of the map. 4 bombers over here doing a very nice job picking up some stray engineers. Still, Anaryl has been unable to secure the back 3 mass points, and that's a pretty significant deficit since Cryo has had his for a while now. That little Selen, has it picked up any kills? It's had 2 kills, so you can probably discern that at least 2 engineers have gone down. Does that look like an engineer wreck? That looks like, I don't know what that is. I don't know. Probably likely to be 2 engineers that have gone down for that. Grisly looking forces, though, for both players on the left-hand side. It's definitely where the majority of the forces are massing. A little bit of a run-by on the right for Anaryl, but Cryo is going to spam up a T1 PD as quickly as possible. There are some Lobos in there which are probably going to take it out if those shells land true, which they do. They take an engineer with it. So, not in any great danger, of course, because the ACU for Cryo is sitting right there. But always a nasty to get that little bit of harassment on the side. These Mongoose now charging forward, forcing the second batch of units for Cryo to make their way forward to help deal with them. And in terms of air, the advantage definitely seems to be with Cryo at the moment. And a large, significant engineer drop, it looks like. Guess that's coming out for some reclaim. It's going to fly directly over the head of those troops, which is very ill-advised indeed. Promptly gets popped out of the sky. Lots and lots of damage there. And the bombers, the excessive amount of bombers, let's see how many we've got out for Cryo is up to 10, and that's going to make a real nasty mess of those units. That are all very tightly clumped together, which is pretty useful because when you've got the kind of rock, paper, scissor advantage, and there's not a great deal of anti-air to deal with, you do the damage to the bombers first, and then you move in with your land units, and that will give you the advantage you need. The interceptors do finally make a move from Anaryl, and they're going directly after the bombers, but I think they are inferior in number to the amount that Cryo has. But Cryo needs to be a little bit careful. He's pushing quite heavily forward on the left-hand side, wanting to eliminate this blob, but at the same time he's got a pretty significant force coming down the middle through the plateau, and that's moving straight on his central base, but it is coming in quite single file, mainly because of the little ramp section. It does have a tendency to funnel the troops, and although he's doing exactly the right thing, strafing past middle, he's not getting much damage on the base for the moment. It looks like he's probably going to try and get in around the back here, try and do some damage. He needs to look out. There is some PDs going up. In fact, Cryo is concerned about run-bys going to the back. Needs to try and grab 2 on both sides. Anaryl has done quite well in getting both the ridges, however. You take a look at the economy situation. Anaryl is on 67 mass, Cryo is on 73, so there's very little between these two in terms of what they're on. Cryo has reclaimed 6,800, Anaryl's on 4,500. So Anaryl is operating at a deficit, but it's definitely not a deficit from which he cannot recover. And now this little force on the right-hand side has been quite nastily sandwiched between the defending forces of Cryo. And they're going to go to town on it. But there's a few Lobos that have made their way in with some defending strikers in front. Cryo is going to try and pop those. Those Lobos trying to get some kills on what looks like the T2 mass point, but they're never going to kill that in time before the ACU gets it, which they don't. This battle on the left is still going. All of the troops that the 2 bases are producing for the moment seem to be funneled into the left side of this map, and this is just turning into an absolute mess. Slow this down a little bit, you get an idea of what's going on. It is a full-on air and land spam war. Pretty significant amounts of Mongoose on the field, though. despite the superior numbers in general, what looks like in UK Cryo's favour, those mongoose, keeping out of range and able to do a lot of damage at range, which is very nice in long extended battles over time. If we take a look at how that's playing out now, it looks like this little initial amount of troops is getting thinned out quite heavily in terms of Cryo. He's got a nasty concave as well going on now, and that's getting thinned out, and he's got a lot of engineers mixed in with the troops. In fact, he's going to try and get a land factory online on the left here, which is quite interesting. It's a serious amount of build capacity he's devoted to the left-hand side, and he's going to immediately tech to T2. So I'm guessing he wants to get some kind of T2. Does he even have T2 land down here yet? He does have T2 land, or at least he's working on T3 land. So he hasn't been producing Ilshavas. He's just gone a beeline straight for T2, and with double upgrades, let's see what that's doing to his economy. He is indeed redlining en masse, so could be a slight problem. However, that gets up and running. He's going to start work on a radar system, which is going to give him very nice coverage. But the problem is that this force of Anaryls is bearing down on him all the time. He's got some mongoose that are going to see this now. You can see there it is, and that is a massive target of opportunity. He's going to turn around and probably start massacring engineers, I'd imagine. He's been working on T2 engineers, so he's obviously trying to get some kind of PD firebase up and running. He's secured the right-hand side with his comm. Wanted to do the left with a lovely little push. I applaud the idea, Cryo, but that just hasn't worked out, my friend. You're going to lose a ton of engineers there. He will get a PD up online, but look at the force pushing in from Anaryl. I'd be very surprised if he manages to hold this. He has got some reinforcing T1 units coming from the right, but they're going to be making a beeline in here right now, straight for the T2 engineers to stop any more PD going up. Indeed, the radar goes down just as one bullet whistled past it. The air that it produced was a little bit heavy for it, so that fell over. And indeed, that point defense goes down as well, and that is going to be the end of that T2 factory on top of it. So quite a substantial investment in mass for very little gain. But on the right-hand side, Cryo's made fantastic advances. Been focusing so much on the left, haven't seen this. He's taken out the factory, he's picked up all of the mass points and cleared it completely, and still Anaryl has been unable to secure the rear. It's a shame. Just one or two units round to the back to secure it with an engineer, and that would be absolutely fine, but hasn't managed to do it. But he is having some success on the left now, which is it's very important that he does, being as that he's lost the right. He's devoted quite a significant portion of his latest troops to dealing with this little formation that has set up over on the right, but he could really do with getting a nice little run by down here, taking out this PD, taking out these factories, and maybe getting some units around the back, because there's 3 T2 mass that are just begging to go down, and if they do, that would really even things up. Might even put Anaryl ahead, judging as he's still managing to hold on to these ridges. I shouldn't think it'll be a great deal of time till he has these mass points back under his control. We're starting to see some T3 units on the field, and that we've got siege tanks, some of my favorite units in the game, and they're so good for this stage in the game as well, because they've got the Alpha Strike on the main cannon, but they also have the Bolter, which is so good at zapping high rate of fire, at zapping all of the T1 spam that are going to be making up, or predominantly making up, the larger proportion of these forces. So he's got those two out in front. I'd like to see him engage. He's going to go into some bombers first and soften them up, but there's quite a lot of archers in there, the T1 mobile AAs. Indeed, he does start making a move, Cryo, with his forces, and those siege tanks are just going to buzz through that if he doesn't get them out of there. Now the question is, will Anaryl be responding with T3 of his own? And there's so many flippin' factories, I don't know where to start. He's got T3 up and online. Titans are being produced. One is about to roll off the production, so that will help him with the spam. Needs to get some Percivals in the mix as well, though, to deal with those siege tanks, of course. He's pushing, however, on the right. This could potentially be slightly ill-advised. We've got Cryo's ACU in position with this all shielded, and he's working on getting as much T2 and T1 PD online as is humanly possible. And Anaryl wisely works out that that's not going to happen. He's got to back off a little bit. He's using Lobos at range to try and put as much fire on the build capacity as possible, which would be nice if we get a few more in here. There's a lot of very nearly dead engineers. There's one here with 5 hit points, 29 hit points, 29 hit points, all looking very beat up indeed. So a couple of lucky Lobo shots would be good. But oh my god, look at this air incursion from Anaryl. He's going to make a Lobo drop with the back, and he's got so much air, it's tying up all cryos. Let's see if Cryo has even seen that drop. He's going actually into the back of his base. I thought he was going to go down here, but no, he's going into the back of his base. Going to try and cause as much havoc as possible. It looks like they're all going to make landfall. Indeed they do, and that could actually be quite nasty. It's going to be interesting to see how well Cryo responds, manages to get a whole lot of PD up and running, needs to take that out as soon as possible. Could do with getting some good shots on these engineers as well, getting rid of that build capacity so no more go up. Doesn't manage to take that out before that group go down, but eventually it goes down. Wants to focus more on some of these engineers. He's going after the extractors. I think he doesn't think that's going to last too long, so he wants to do or cripple Cryo as much as he can economically. And we'll have to take a look at how that leaves things standing. But over on the left, this earlier force has made its way right up the side of the map. And actually, on the scheme of things, Anaryl looks like he's hurting now. He's lost both of the forward sections on each side. I'd be interested to see what happens. He has got some Titans on the field, and they are going to town on the spam. There are some siege tanks, of course, as I said earlier, mixed in with that. But I don't think that's going to be enough. Coupled with the triads that are rapidly being erected from Anaryl at the front of his base, that is not a good place to be. So Cryo wisely withdraws. We've got a lot of interceptors out now. So yeah, for the moment, air control looking like it's firmly in Anaryl's pocket. For the moment, he's dropped a few units. Unfortunately, landed the transport with it. And I don't think that's going to make it out of there. If it does, it's the luckiest transport ever. Oh my god, 60 HP. But well done there. These Lobos going to make their way up and outrange the PD, which will be very nice indeed. Cryo is obviously not aware, or he is now. He's finally moving his THAMs to intercept. So that will be the end of those. But those PDs will go down. Wondering whether or not he's going to change fire to that factory, but it won't matter because he won't have the firepower left to kill it. Let's take a look at how the economies stack up very quickly. Crazy about like in the 50s or 60s for Cryo, and Anaryl's in around the same amounts economically wise, not doing too badly. And indeed we do have Percival's in the mix now, and they're going to go a long way to helping to deal with those siege tanks. Could do with a few more. Pound for pound, Percival's incredibly tough and an incredible amount of firepower. And Swackle will hate me for saying it, as he's such a UEF fanboy, but I'm sorry, I don't believe UEF need a direct fire experimental. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. But anyway, that's just me. Another drop coming in the back from Anaryl. He's going to airlift them. What looks right to the back. I don't see any immediate anti-air on the ground. There's a whole bunch of Ilshivas just chilling, waiting for such an eventuality. There is also a PD that has gone up in anticipation from Cryo. Could do with moving those engineers. A couple of lucky shots, indeed. About 3 go down, I think. And if he doesn't move them soon, another 3 are going to go down. 2 go down. The other one makes it out of there. Ilshivas get on the move. And it won't be too long before those get popped. But a couple, or at least one mass point down, another one down, 1 T2, and this, you can count this a real success if they manage to pop this as well. I don't think it's going to have enough firepower. They just deal with it, and that survives on 1,000 hit points, I think it was. Still worth it, as far as I'm concerned. Definitely still worth it. But a whole horde of engineers, Cryo's engineers, just seem to have a death wish in this game. I just don't know what's going on. They really, I don't know, maybe it's the economy or something. They're really like upset, like they can't provide for their families. Something has gone wrong because they just don't want to live anymore. They are committing suicide all over the place, setting some pretty significant reclaim routes, and it's getting them into trouble. But he's certainly not hurting for engineers. We take a look at how many he's got in the field. You're looking at somewhere in the region of, yeah, coming up close to 200, so really not too bad. Anaryl, how are you looking for build capacity, my friend? I can actually find an engineer, not quite so good, as opposed to the 50, so a pretty significant difference in terms of build capacity between the two guys. And we've now got T3 ASFs in the air. Cryo has made the transition to Tech 3 Air. that could cause major headaches for Anaryl. Indeed, I'd say that could almost be game. Don't know how he's going to be able to contend with that. Couple of Percivals marching in on the forward bands from Cryo. Again, picking up some engineer kills as they march forward, looking for ever more dangerous places to reclaim. But I suppose it doesn't really matter because the amount they're reclaiming, they're probably replacing their cost anyway. Up to 29,000 mass on reclaim Cryo as opposed to 13,000 mass. So overall, in terms of eco, Cryo has definitely outperformed Anaryl in this, and it's probably going to win him the game, I imagine. I don't see a current answer for the T3 Air. Still on T1 Air on the 3 factories that he's got, Anaryl. And that's not going to be able to contend with ASFs and strat bombers at all. Anaryl's going to try and do some damage over on the right, but there are anti-air cannons T2 form for Cryo, waiting for such an eventuality, and indeed those bombers don't make it anywhere near any kind of damage. Another little drop coming out for Anaryl. Obviously he likes the success he's been having with them. I think it's all slightly academic at this point. Let's see those ASFs just swatting those bombers out of the sky now. Is that a attack missile? Looked like a attack missile coming from somewhere. And just working on those little forward station. I might potentially... No, sorry, it's not a attack missile. What I'm talking about is a demolisher. T3 mobile arty coming out for Anaryl, just forcing Cryo to back up with some of those slightly outdated T1 units. It's interesting, Cryo's made absolutely no attempt to capture the sides. Quite often in open ponds you see a little bit of a war going on for the side irons, but Cryo has decided to focus on the back. Still, Anaryl has been unable to deal with this. You can probably see why if his bombers fly back over that area. It's so incredibly annoying. As far as he's concerned, he doesn't know where anything there actually is, but you can see there he is because those suckers can cloak. And it's kind of rude as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, not to worry. Of course, if you got a spy plane out, get some Omni on the case, you can pop that and finally get the 3 mass points in the back, which he hasn't been able to get possession of all game. But nice bunch of 5 Percivals here, eating up those siege tanks. So he's getting some progress over on the left is Anaryl, but this is a very grisly looking group of ASFs, and that is going to be giving him firm and unrelenting air control, and I think that's a strat bomber that he's now working on. Indeed, I heard a strat bomber out already, so he's going after it. Anaryl sees that, calls the GG, and promptly leaves the game. Not quite the ending you were hoping for, but Anaryl is smart enough guy to know when he's beaten. He's down on eco, and he's just got no way to contend with that T3 Air. Those bombers could come in now and do anything they want, take out all of these T2 power gens, and that would be all she rode. So, nice game, guys. Thanks for playing and entertaining us all. Hope you guys enjoyed it. There will be more coming from me in the near future. But for now, this is Gyle signing off.